Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I am delighted to join in this debate today, and I want to thank all members that have contributed. The Honourable Member for Dundee West made an excellent point that SDGs should be a comprehensive blueprint for all departments. He also raised the UN Special Rapporteur's report on poverty in the UK and stated that the government is in denial of the facts. The Honourable Member also quoted Richard Curtis, who I have to commend for his work on raising the profile of SDGs, and he gave a very clear message that whoever becomes Prime Minister needs to give SDGs proper leadership across government. And my honourable friend for Liverpool West Derby, who is the chair of the IDC committee, and again must be commended for the work he has done, especially the work on the SDGs. He made an excellent speech and spoke of the evidence his committee has taken, rightly raising a lack of understanding of SDGs across Whitehall, and he raised many important points, especially on how the government will bring back VNR home, especially in terms of public consciousness. My honourable friend for Bristol East focused on a number of SDGs, and she cited the work of Tier Fund on plastic pollution and the impact this will have on achieving the SDGs. And she also raised a really important point on that we only spend 0.93% of ODA on waste management in developing countries, which is really a public health concern. And the honourable member for Glasgow North spoke of the work the Scottish Government are doing on SDGs, and he cited the example of the work where Scotland have partnered with Malawi, evidencing how civil society can be engaged in delivering the SDGs. Mr Deputy Speaker, since joining the Shadow Dfid team, I have championed the SDGs at every opportunity. Last year, I went to New York as part of the Global Goals Week, and I look forward to returning to New York this year to attend the high-level meetings where the UK's voluntary national review will be presented. And given this engagement, I was very pleased to hear the Leader of the House announce last week that we would be having a very specific debate on the VNR process. And needless to say, I was somewhat perplexed to see the scope of the debate changed in the order paper to remove any reference to the voluntary national review. It is vital that we take this national review seriously. We must honour the SDG agenda that we signed up to as a country, and that means applying all 17 goals to both our international and domestic work, and being honest about where we can improve. So let me echo what has been said already in this debate regarding the need for a whole-government approach to achieve the SDGs. On a global level, that means we must have policy coherence so the actions of one department does not undermine the work of others. And in the UK, local government and local councils matter. We cannot deliver the SDGs domestically without them. Last year,
Does she agree with me, just like we did in 1992 after the Earth Summit and every local council produced a local Agenda 21, the government should be mandating local councils to produce local SDGs and their fulfilment of them? I think councils would be willing to take that opportunity if the call went out from the heart of government.
I thank my honourable friend for that important contribution, and I absolutely endorse that fully, and I hope the government today will take that on board. So, as I was saying, in the UK, local government and local councils do matter, and that's why last year I worked with my local council, Birmingham City, to approve a motion on the Sustainable Development Goals, and with cross-party support, making it the first council to formally agree to play its part to achieve these important goals. I truly hope that other councils across the country will now follow Birmingham's lead and adopt their own motions, and I hope the Minister will join me in encouraging members from across the House to support similar motions in their own constituencies. Will she also agree to speak to colleagues in the Department for Communities and Local Government to ensure that councils and communities across the UK are playing their part? Because I have to say, I am concerned about the leadership role Dfid appear to be playing in a programme that should be both global and domestic. The Department for International Development is a department that is specifically tasked with addressing poverty overseas. Its limited resources should not be diverted to tackle issues in the UK that are the specific responsibility of other departments. These concerns were recently raised by the International Development Select Committee, who have said that cross-government engagement with the SDGs up to this point has been woefully insufficient. Outside of Dfid, there is still very limited knowledge of the goals amongst Whitehall officials. The IDC went on to say that they are not convinced that Dfid should be leading on the coordination of the VNR, And I agree with these comments and would like to see the government taking the SDGs far more seriously right across the Cabinet. And according to analysis by Safer World, only 3 of 76 Conflict, Stability and Security Fund programme summaries publicly reference the 2030 Agenda and SDGs as guidance for context analysis or programme direction. So can the Minister update the House as to whether the proposed departmental champions have now all been appointed, and can she clarify what their role will be and what meaningful reporting process they will follow to make sure that the UK does deliver on these important goals? And related to this, can I ask the Minister to provide concrete assurances that the voluntary national review on the UK's progress towards achieving the goals domestically will not take any time or resources away from the Department's international work to eradicate extreme poverty overseas? Mr Deputy Speaker, I have also heard concerns from a number of NGOs and civil society groups who feel their involvement in the review process has been chaotic, disorganised and last minute. With the original deadline of submitting the report to the UN this coming Friday, a deadline confirmed to me in response to one of my recent written questions, civil society groups will be rightly alarmed that they will not have had a proper chance to feed back on the VNR before it is submitted. So what is the government doing to ensure meaningful engagement with civil society groups going forward? And can the Minister be clear on how the input sought from the recent consultations will feed into the final review? And will the Minister commit to seek government time for a debate following the submission of the VNR so we can discuss the content in greater detail? We cannot afford to fail on meeting the SDG targets. The challenges we face are vast. Across the world, 1 in 9 people still go hungry, 1 in 5 children live in conflict, 40 million people are displaced from their homes, and the world is facing an ecological breakdown. The world may be at its wealthiest overall, but inequality is at its highest. 26 people now own the same wealth as half of all humanity, 3.8 billion people combined. This is symptomatic of a global economy rigged in favour of the few at the expense of the many. A system that accumulates private wealth and power in the hands of a few individuals at the expense of public goods. And as the Honourable Member for Liverpool Walton mentioned, the picture in the UK is bleak too. More and more children live in poor households, and according to the Institute of Fiscal Studies, there is likely to be an unacceptable 7% rise in child poverty between 2015 and 2022. Mr Deputy Speaker, it is right that we have had room today to debate the UK's own performance against the Sustainable Development Goals and voluntary national review, and I trust that going forward we will respect the truly universal nature of the SDGs, meaning we should see a far greater focus on how we achieve the goals, both globally and here in the UK, as it provides us with a global blueprint for dignity, peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future. Thank you.